Hi, today let's learn about genetics. Have you ever wondered why family members share same physical features like the tallness, hair color, hair texture, facial features, and sometimes the predisposition for the genetic disorders like diabetes? Because we share the same genes. The study of genes is what we call as genetics. In 1800s, people had no idea about genetics. They had no idea what passed on from parents to offspring. They believed that the genetic disorders were because of some curse or black magic. Then came this man, Mendel. He was born in 1822, trained himself to be a naturalist. He worked as a substitute science teacher, failed the qualifying exam to become a regular high school teacher. Then he joined a monastery in Austria. The monastery sent him to Vienna University to study science and math. He excelled in his studies and he published a research article on experiments in plant hybridization. It was a landmark in clarity and insight. Trained as a mathematician and as a biologist, he figured out the laws of inheritance mathematically. He called it as laws of inheritance, not laws of genetics, because the term genetics was not coined yet at his time. Yes, the man we now respect as father of genetics did not know the word genetics. He knew nothing about DNA and genes. He chose pea plants for his studies. He called pea plants as his children. Why did he choose pea plants to do the experiments? Because there was a long-standing tradition of breeding pea plants at the monastery where Mendel lived and worked. So they were readily available. And also they came in lot of varieties. For example, there were varieties in at least 7 different features the pea plants had, like height, seed shape, seed color, seed coat color, pod shape, pod color, and flower position. If you take the seed color, there were yellow seed varieties and green seed varieties. And best of all, pea plant flowers can reproduce by themselves. Also, we can manually induce cross fertilization. So, pea plants have both male pods and female pod. So, anther is the male reproductive pod which produces pollen. This pollen will get transferred from anther to stigma. Stigma will receive the pollen. This is the female reproductive pods. Both male and female reproductive pods were on the same flower, so they can self fertilize. This is called as self pollination. Cross pollination is also possible in pea plants, which means the pollen from one flower can land on the stigma of the flower which is located in another plant. This is what we call as cross pollination. Pollination between two different flowers, two different plants of the same species. Cross pollination is a natural process. This is mostly mediated by insect, wind, and water. So the insects will transfer the pollen from one flower to another plant which is located far away from that plant. This is what we call as cross pollination. And this cross pollination, you can also induce cross pollination artificially. That means you can do it manually. You can manually remove the anthers from one plant and then put it on the stigma of another plant. That way you can induce the cross pollination. This is what Mendel did. Why he did this? Because he wanted to see what will happen if he cross fertilizes a plant with yellow seed color to a plant with green seed color. That was